This anime is set in the future, where technology has advanced to the point that students use a device called the Neurolinker, a personal computer worn around the neck that connects directly to the user's brain via a wireless link. In short, this device allows people to display and control digital interfaces inside their minds simply through thought. Haru is a short and chubby middle school student. Besides his physical insecurities, he's also unlucky, bullied by school thugs every single day. They force him to buy them food, always outside the range of school CCTV, leaving Haru helpless. His only escape is a virtual reality online game he plays through his Neurolinker. That day, as usual, Haru hid in the school bathroom after being bullied. He logged into his favorite game, where his avatar is a small pink pig, a reflection of his looks and timid nature. But even in the game world, he feels alone, unlike other players who enjoy playing in groups. One day, a commotion broke out in the game when a beautiful character named Kuroyuki appeared and drew everyone's attention. Kuroyuki happens to be the most popular girl at Haru's school, elegant, smart, and incredibly pretty. Haru could only admire her from afar, but this time something unexpected happened. Kuroyuki looked directly at him. Shocked, Haru slipped and fell from a staircase. Even so, he convinced himself that her gaze meant nothing. After all, someone like Kuroyuki would never care about him. Later, Haru went to his favorite virtual squash arena, where he was known as the top scorer. In this game, he felt free, strong, and confident, able to hit every ball effortlessly. As he played, he complained about how unpleasant real life was, thinking the virtual world was enough for him. Suddenly, a girl appeared and told him to log out. When he refused, she hit him on the head in real life, forcing him out of the game. Shocked, Haru realized the girl had entered the boys' restroom just to wake him up. It was Chiyori, his childhood friend. She knew about the bullying and begged him to report it to the teachers, but Haru had already given up, saying it was pointless since the bullies would just come back later. Chiyori gave him a homemade lunch, but Haru rejected it and the food spilled everywhere. Chiyori cried and Haru felt guilty for his behavior, but instead of apologizing, he escaped back into the game to vent his frustration. There, he was stunned to discover that his top squash score had been beaten by none other than Kuroyuki Hime. She then told him to meet her the next day if he wanted to become faster and stronger. The next day, Haru nervously went to meet Kuroyuki Hime in person at the school's luxurious lounge. Surrounded by upperclassmen, he felt completely out of place. Kuroyuki Hime, already waiting for him, invited Haru to connect through a LAN link, something usually reserved for couples, so no one else could overhear them. She then transferred a mysterious program into Haru's Neurolinker called Brain Burst. Inside it was a world of accelerated time. Haru was amazed by the system's design, and Kuroyuki told him she had a feeling he could achieve something great in this world. However, before Kuroyuki Hime could explain what Brain Burst and the accelerated world were, the school bullies who usually extorted Haru suddenly appeared, demanding their daily payment. Kuroyuki Hime seized the moment to demonstrate Brain Burst in action. She provoked the gang leader Raya until he became furious and tried to punch Haru. Just before the punch landed, Kuroyuki Hime shouted, urging Haru to activate the program by yelling, "Burst Link."
In an instant, time seemed to stop. The two entered their avatars within the program known as Brain Burst, specifically into a realm called the Accelerated World. In this space, their minds operated 1,000 times faster than normal, making the outside world appear completely frozen. This extraordinary ability allowed users to think, analyze, and act far quicker than anyone in reality. Kuroyuki Hime then instructed Haru to let himself be hit by Araya. The blow would be captured by the school's CCTV, creating solid evidence to punish the bully. With Brain Burst, Haru would soon gain superhuman reflexes and strength, enabling him to fight back in the future. She advised him to maximize the effect of Araya's strike. When hit, he had to let the force throw him backward into Kuroyuki Hime, ensuring that Araya received the harshest punishment possible. As expected, when they returned to the real world, Haru was struck and flung backward, crashing into Kuroyuki Hime. The girl's head began bleeding, sending the surrounding students into panic. Through a private voice transmission, Kuroyuki Hime calmly assured Haru that she was fine, and told him to keep up the act until Araya received full disciplinary action. After this, she promised that Araya would never bother him again. Before leaving, Kurayuki Hime warned Haru not to connect to the global network until the next day at school. Haru obeyed and disconnected once he got home. On his way, Chiyuri, his childhood friend, joined him. She was worried after hearing he had been beaten, but Haru brushed it off, saying it was just a small injury. Soon after, Taku, another childhood friend, appeared and walked with them. Though he now attended a different school, he had just won a kendo tournament, proudly crediting Chiyuri's homemade lunch for his victory. Haru teased him, but Taka responded playfully, suggesting Haru should try her lunch too. From their conversation, Haru realized Chiyuri had told Taku about his bullying situation. Feeling humiliated, Haru grew angry. He hated being pitied or seen as weak. The next morning, on his way to school, Haru accidentally connected to the global network again. Suddenly, he was dragged back into Brainburst. The world around him transformed into a battle arena, and he found himself embodied as a shining silver robot, Silver Crow, his combat avatar. Opposite him stood his opponent, a menacing skeletal avatar riding a massive motorcycle.
While Haru was still admiring his avatar, a fierce opponent riding a massive motorcycle charged at him and attacked mercilessly. Haru was instantly defeated. At school, upon meeting Kurayuki again, Haru finally learned that Brainbirth was a secret battle game that used real-world locations as its arenas. Feeling hopeless, Haru believed he could never win in a game like that. Kurayuki asked him to log into Brainburst and selected his name for a duel. As soon as the match began, Haru's avatar transformed once again into Silver Crow. Haru complained that his avatar looked too weak for fighting and wanted to redesign it. Kurayuki explained that avatars were manifestations of their users' deepest desires, ambitions, and fears. Haru's avatar, she said, was extremely rare and had immense potential power. Meanwhile, Kurayuki had sealed her own battle avatar because she deemed it far too terrifying. Kurayuki also explained the point system. Every time a user accelerated, they consumed 1 burst point. Losing a battle cost even more points. Once the points dropped to 0, the Brainburst program would automatically uninstall itself from the user's neurolinker and could never be reinstalled. To earn points, players had to fight and win. Victors gained 10 points, while losers lost 10 points. Acceleration was highly useful in real life, for exams, sports, or even accidents. But to keep using it, players had to fight to maintain their points. Once you tasted that forbidden fruit, there was no turning back, only battle. Kurayuki then asked what Haru planned to do now that he had the program. Would he return to the real world and simply enjoy life now that his bullies were gone? Haru answered that he would fight to repay Kurayuki. She was the one who had pulled him out of the hell caused by his tormentors. For so long, he'd hated himself for his body and cowardice, but Kurayuki had been the first to talk to him, to believe in him just because he won a small game. Now he wanted to meet her expectations and become a strong burst linker. Kurayuki softly replied that she wasn't extraordinary either. She was also weak and needed help. She reached out her hand, asking Haru to bridge the distance between them. Haru hesitated. He couldn't believe someone as radiant as her could ever reach out to someone like him. He was grateful enough that she'd saved him. Kurayuki then admitted that she was facing a serious problem herself, one that required Haru's help. But before that, he needed to learn how to fight. After training together for a while, they logged out. A friend of Kurayuki approached and curiously asked what her relationship with Haru was. Calmly, Kurayuki said she had confessed her love to Haru, but he rejected her. The entire class was shocked, Haru included. Panicking, he chased after her to demand an explanation, afraid the rumor would spread and get him bullied again. Kurayuki only giggled, clearly amused by teasing him. Before they parted, Kurayuki reminded him that once he left the school area, his neurolinker would connect to the global network, meaning he could be challenged anytime. She told him to be ready. This time, Haru was no longer afraid. He was excited to dive back into Brainburst.
Recalling Kurayuki's training, Haru analyzed his movements, strengths, and weaknesses. Though nervous at first, he reminded himself that this game gave him passion and purpose, a reason to give his all. With newfound determination, Haru dashed forward and kicked his opponent, knocking him off his motorcycle and earning some points. He then leaped onto a rooftop to evade the biker, but the enemy's modified bike climbed up after him. Haru ran for his life, remembering Kurayuki's warning. His weaknesses were corrosion and impact. His metal armor couldn't withstand heavy blows. As predicted, a slight hit sent him crashing down, losing even more points. He tried his signature headbutt technique, but instead got run over. Frustrated, Haru recalled Kurayuki's words that strength wasn't just about winning, it was about not giving up. Fueled by that thought, Haru stood up again. Through observation, he discovered his enemy's weakness. When the rear wheel of the bike lifted, it couldn't move. At that moment, Haru used his headbutt again, and this time it worked. He defeated his opponent and regained his lost points. It was his first true victory, one that left both him and Kurayuki thrilled. However, their bond didn't go unnoticed. Chiyori, Haru's childhood friend, observed them with clear disapproval. She confronted Kurayuki, accusing her of playing with Haru's feelings. Kurayuki simply responded with a teasing smile.
Kurayuki told Chiyuri that she had no right to interfere in her matters with Haru. However, Chiyuri insisted that she did, since she had been friends with Haru since they were children. Kurayuki calmly replied that her relationship with Haru was much closer, because she'd already confessed her feelings to him and was now waiting for his answer. She even added that they were about to go on a date. At that moment, Haru felt as if the world was ending, thinking he might just die from embarrassment. But instead, Kurayuki grabbed his hand and dragged him away, leaving Chiyuri behind. While walking together, Kurayuki admitted that she suspected Chiyuri might be a burst linker. However, she made it clear that she wasn't interested in Chiyuri the same way she was interested in Haru. Hearing that left Haru speechless. When they arrived at a cafe, Kurayuki once again congratulated Haru on his victory, yet she reminded him to maintain his best performance if he wanted to keep his level 2 rank. She explained that very few players had ever reached level 4, and those who managed to reach level 7 or 8 were already considered commanders of large groups. Kurayuki then told him about the Legion system. The accelerated world was divided into 6 territories, each ruled by one of the 6 level 9 burst linkers, known as the Kings of 6 colors: blue, red, yellow, green, purple, and white. This was the first time Haru had heard of a game that could only be won by 6 players holding the highest levels. Kurayuki clarified that level 9 wasn't the highest level. Shocked, Haru asked if someone could reach level 10. Kurayuki explained that since the creation of the game, no one had ever achieved level 10. To reach it, a player must defeat all 5 of the other level 9 kings. However, losing even once would cause the player's burst points to drop to 0, and the Brain Burst program would be forcibly uninstalled from their Neuro linker. Kurayuki went on to explain that the reason Brain Burst had remained secret for 7 years since its release was because of its extreme entry conditions. One of them was that players had to be born wearing a Neuro linker. During the previous summer, the 9 young kings had reached level 9 at almost the same time. Upon doing so, they received a system message revealing the cruel rule for advancing to level 10. The kings then made a pact to maintain balance and avoid bloodshed. But to Kurayuki, that decision was foolish. After all, they had fought countless players to reach level 9.
Haru began to suspect that Kurayuki wanted to use him to fight the other kings. But Kurayuki revealed that she had already done that once. She broke the pact and killed the Red King. The other kings were enraged, leading to a massive battle among them. However, after 30 minutes of fighting without defeating anyone, Kurayuki was forced to withdraw. Since that day 2 years ago, she'd been hunted and labeled a traitor by all other burst linkers. Stunned, Haru asked why she did it. Kurayuki replied that she wanted to reach level 10.
because the system promised that anyone who did would meet the creator of Brainburst and uncover the true meaning and purpose of the program. She confessed that she longed to know what lay beyond the shell of humanity. Kuroyuki expected Haru to hate her after hearing all that, but instead he told her he didn't. He said there was no point in simply running around a map following someone else's path. His words made Kuroyuki smile softly. She hadn't expected such insight from him. Grateful and moved, she held Haru's hand and thanked him for his trust and support. For the first time, she truly felt she had chosen the right partner. Then, Kuroyuki explained that she had never connected to the global network except when she was at school. It was during one of those times that someone suddenly accessed Brainburst through the school network and attacked her while she was using her school network avatar. This meant that the person knew Kuroyuki's true identity. She was Black Lotus. Because the battle took place at school, Kuroyuki's identity as a burst linker started to leak out. She had already received battle challenges from that mysterious player 10 times within just 2 months, all through the school network. Kuroyuki wanted to find out who that player was. Haru suggested they investigate during a school event, when all students would be gathered together. Kuroyuki admitted she had already tried that before, but no one suspicious appeared. In fact, the only player name visible on the school network was Black Lotus itself. Haru was shocked to hear that. He asked how that was even possible. Kuroyuki explained that the player might be an exceptionally skilled hacker capable of modifying the game's system, or possibly even one of the game's developers. She asked for Haru's help in identifying the player, known as Cyan Pile. When Haru received the linker data that Kuroyuki had investigated, he was stunned to see that the suspected student was none other than Chiyuri. Kuroyuki wanted Haru to help prove that Chiyuri was indeed a linker. Haru, however, couldn't believe it. He insisted that Chiyuri was terrible at games, and wasn't the kind of person who would attack someone like Kuroyuki without reason. But Kuroyuki reminded him of how Chiyuri had confronted her earlier that day. Still, Haru refused to think badly of his childhood friend. He decided to confirm this directly. The only way to check Chiyuri's neurolinker was by connecting to it with a cable to see if the Brainbirth program existed. On his way to Chiyuri's house, Haru ran into Taku, Chiyuri's boyfriend and their other childhood friend. Although they now attended different schools, the three still shared a strong bond. However, Kaku seemed strangely tense and a bit sarcastic. When Haru asked if it was possible that Chiyuri could ever harm someone, Taku calmly replied by asking whether Haru truly believed that was possible. Haru instantly said no way. When Haru arrived at Chiyuri's house, he asked to connect a cable, pretending he just wanted to apologize for what happened at school. Though a bit embarrassed, Chiyuri agreed. While apologizing through the voice channel, Haru secretly began searching her system for the Brainbirth program. Suddenly, Chiyuri confessed her feelings of guilt. She said she wanted to help Haru, but didn't know how. Meanwhile, Kuroyuki had appeared out of nowhere and managed to solve Haru's problem in just one day. Chiyuri admitted she was afraid that Haru would change and leave her behind. Haru reassured her that nothing would change, though deep down he felt isolated between Chiyuri and Taku. Their emotional conversation grew more intimate, almost making Haru forget his true purpose. As Chiyuri got lost in her feelings, Haru continued to scan her neurolinker. After a while, he didn't find any sign of the Brainburst program, but what he did find shocked him. Chiyuri's system had been infiltrated by a backdoor program allowing someone to access her neurolinker remotely. Haru wanted to close the dangerous connection, but he realized whoever did this might be watching them at that very moment. He couldn't make any suspicious moves. Once he finished, he disconnected the cable. Suddenly, Chiyuri blurted out that Haru should become Kuroyuki's boyfriend as the vice president of the student council to surprise everyone. Haru froze at her words, completely stunned by Chiyuri's unexpected support, but couldn't find the courage to say anything in return.
That night, after connecting the cables with Chiyuri, Haru had a strange dream. In the dream, both Chiyuri and Kuroyuki invited him to do that. Because of the dream, he woke up screaming. The next day, when Haru met Kuroyuki, he couldn't look her in the eye.
The memory of that dream made him nervous. Trying to change the subject, he reported the results of his inspection of Chiyuri's data. Kuroyuki was shocked. She asked in detail where he conducted the inspection and how long the cable was. Naively, Haru replied that he did it in Chiyuri's room with a 30-centimeter cable. Kuroyuki's face turned red with anger, and she stormed off, leaving Haru completely confused. By noon, Haru was still trying to find Kuroyuki to report what he had discovered in Chiyuri's memory data. But suddenly, 2 senior members from the school's media club came to interview him. They asked about his relationship with Kuroyuki, since they had already linked cables twice and were even seen going on a cafe date together. Haru hurried to correct them, explaining that he had simply been fixing an issue with Kuroyuki's neurolinker, and afterward she treated him to thank him. Besides, if they looked closely, she always seemed angry whenever she talked to him, especially after finding out that his close friend was Chiyuri. But the reporters just smiled, claiming that Kuroyuki was probably jealous of Chiyuri since she had never acted that way before. Those words echoed in Haru's mind as he stood in the school bathroom, lost in thought. He refused to believe that Kuroyuki could ever have feelings for someone like him. To him, she was a perfect girl, someone far beyond his reach. He didn't want to cling to a dream that would only end up breaking him. From that day on, he decided to keep his distance and treat Kuroyuki politely but formally. Later at school, Kuroyuki waited for him, wanting to apologize, but Haru responded coldly and immediately shifted to report his investigation. To avoid being overheard, Kuroyuki suggested they link cables again while walking home. Haru explained that Chiyuri wasn't the one who attacked him. Most likely, their real enemy was the one who sent a virus into Chiyuri's neurolinker and installed a backdoor. Kuroyuki noticed Haru acting strange and asked if he was angry. Haru told her to forget it and focus on more important things. She asked if he had any proof of the hacking, but Haru couldn't show anything, believing the culprit was still monitoring him. Because of that, Kuroyuki found his claim hard to believe. She had never heard of such a case before. Feeling frustrated, Haru accused her of not trusting him and said he didn't care anymore if she thought he was a traitor. If this was all about Kuroyuki's will, then he was just a disposable pawn anyway. Kuroyuki grabbed his arm, apologizing and admitting that she often lost control, especially when it came to him and Chiyuri. But Haru stood his ground, insisting he would remain just a pawn. Hurt, Kuroyuki slapped him, tears welling in her eyes as she called him an idiot. Suddenly, the loud roar of a car smashing through the guardrail made everyone panic. The vehicle sped straight toward them. Both Haru and Kuroyuki activated their burst linkers just in time. When the car stopped, the danger still felt real. Haru checked the vehicle and realized it was an automated car, one that shouldn't have crashed because it was AI controlled. When he saw Araya behind the wheel, he froze in shock. He thought Araya might be a linker, but Kuroyuki denied that. That was impossible. Araya was simply seeking revenge.
Blaming herself for the situation, Kuroyuki believed that Araya's revenge was triggered by her earlier interference. She swore to protect Haru, even if it meant taking full responsibility. The only way to save him now was to use the ultimate ability in Brain Burst, Physical Full Burst, a power that could only be activated by a level 9 burst linker and consumed 99% of all their points. Haru objected to Kuroyuki sacrificing herself, but Kuroyuki insisted it was her responsibility as his senior. She even smiled, saying she was glad for the chance, because it allowed her to confess her feelings. She admitted that she had fallen in love with Haru ever since watching him play that virtual ping-pong game. She had been captivated by how fast he moved, even without the help of a burst linker. Yet in the real world, Haru seemed fragile and uncertain, which often made her heart ache. Still, she believed Haru would hold on to her final words. Then, Kuroyuki gently kissed him, telling him she believed he would become the fastest burst linker, someone capable of defeating the kings and reaching the highest level. Afterward, Kuroyuki activated physical full burst to push Haru's body away. This technique triggered an acceleration based on the rapid heartbeat one feels when near someone they love, or when under intense pressure. The burst linker system worked by transmitting these heightened heart signals, amplified 1,000 times, to the brain, drastically enhancing the body's response time. In short, it was a forbidden method to physically accelerate the human body. Kuroyuki even confessed that whenever she was with Haru, her heart always raced uncontrollably, even without brain burst. That is why she was genuinely happy and always smiled when she was with him, as if every moment together could last forever. In the end, Kuroyuki managed to save Haru from the collision, but her body was severely injured. Haru could only scream and cry helplessly as he saw her condition. He refused to leave the hospital waiting room while Kuroyuki was in critical care. A nurse handed him Kuroyuki's ID card, which accidentally fell and opened, revealing a hidden photo of him, taken secretly by Kuroyuki when he was relaxing in the lounge. Realizing this, Haru broke down and cried in front of the nurse. The doctor later informed him that the bleeding had been stopped and synthetic microprotein machines were working to repair her damaged tissues. However, because her internal organs were still in critical condition, she could fall into shock at any moment. The next 12 hours would be crucial for her recovery. After the doctor left, the nurse advised Haru to go home and rest, mentioning that a family member of Kuroyuki would arrive tomorrow. But Haru couldn't bring himself to leave her side, not when she was fighting for her life. He then realized that to heal Kuroyuki, the hospital had to connect her neurolinker to the internet. That meant Kuroyuki could receive brain burst battle challenges at any time, even from the person who had attacked her. Worse, she had already used 99% of her points to save Haru. If she lost even one duel, her brain burst program would be deleted forever. Determined to protect her, Haru decided to stay at the hospital and keep watch through the night, preparing to act before anyone could challenge her. Unfortunately, that same night, Haru sent a message to Chiyuri telling her about Kuroyuki's accident and his decision to stay at the hospital. Because of that, the attacker learned about their situation through a back door in Chiyuri's system. The next morning, Haru saw Taku arriving at the hospital. At first, he felt relieved to see his best friend, but then something didn't add up. How did Taku know which hospital Kuroyuki was in? Only Chiyuri knew that information. He suspected that Chiyuri must have told him, yet oddly, she wasn't with Taku. He noticed Taku's neurolinker was active, and in that moment, everything clicked. Taku must have installed the backdoor in Chiyuri's data and used her as a proxy. The only person capable of doing that was Taku himself. Their eyes met and an intense hostility filled the air. Without saying a word, both of them activated Brain Burst, revealing the truth. Taku's avatar name was indeed Cyan Pile.
After transforming into his avatar, Taku was shocked to discover that Haru was actually a Brain Burst player. However, his jealousy peaked when he saw Haru sharing a cable link with his girlfriend, Chiyuri, on the bed. Trying to change the subject, Haru asked whether it was true that Taku had installed a backdoor to spy on Chiyuri's audio logs. Taku refused to take the blame, saying that Haru had also checked her data, even though she wasn't his girlfriend. Taku's anger boiled over. He felt frustrated that his own girlfriend seemed to care more about Haru than him. At first, Taku thought Chiyuri had changed after accepting him as her boyfriend. He believed he deserved her because he was the Academy's champion and a kendo ace. Haru was irritated by this and revealed that Taku's success was all thanks to Brain Burst. Taku defended himself, saying acceleration was his strength. He had joined Brain Burst a year ago after being introduced to it by his kendo club captain. He was a direct disciple of the Blue King and a promising candidate for his guard unit. But when Haru appeared, everything changed. Even though Taku could win at everything in the real world, he could never beat Haru in games, and that thought destroyed his pride. The battle began. Haru's speed gave him the upper hand, but Taku's weapon struck from behind, cutting off Haru's left arm. Haru tried to escape using a lift, narrowly dodging another attack as the elevator ascended. When he exited the building, he was shocked to see a crowd of linkers gathered. He suspected that Taku had invited them. With no other choice, Haru decided to fight Taku in front of everyone. Using his unmatched agility, Haru managed to dodge and strike Taku's massive avatar, Cyan Pile, several times. While attacking, Haru shouted that Chiyuri never wanted Taku to be a champion. She just wanted him to enjoy life and never change. With one solid punch to the head, Cyan Pile fell. Haru pinned him down and kept hitting him repeatedly until Taku fired a small projectile, sending Haru flying backward. When Haru got up, his right leg suddenly broke. Taku mocked him for having such a fragile avatar. Haru was horrified to see his leg detached. He could no longer move or dodge. Taku seized the moment, claiming that Haru didn't understand Chiyuri's pain. He said that both he and Chiyuri had suffered because of Haru and demanded that Haru disappear from their lives. Taku stomped on Silver Crow's body and unleashed his strongest move, Spiral Gravity Driver, slamming Haru down to the ground floor with brutal force. Haru lay motionless in agony. Believing he had won, Taku proudly declared his victory to the spectators and said that he would make the Blue King proud.
Haru, still conscious, cried as he heard Taku's words. He didn't want to lose, not for his friends, not for Kuroyuki. But his avatar was breaking apart. Then, in the corner of his eye, he saw Kuroyuki. Crawling toward her, he apologized for not being strong enough to make her proud. All he ever wanted was to reach the same heights where she soared so gracefully. Remembering her words, that victory isn't just about strength. Something within Haru awakened. Silver Crow evolved, sprouting radiant silver wings. Taking flight, Haru soared high into the sky, leaving everyone stunned. He became the first linker in the accelerated world to fly. Furious, Taku launched another attack, but Haru dodged and rammed into him at lightning speed, crashing him into a building. The two clashed mid-air until Taku, defeated, begged Haru not to drop him. If he did, Taku would lose all his points and his brain burst account forever. Though Haru initially refused to forgive his betrayer, when Taku admitted defeat, Haru caught him and spared him. He asked Taku to be his ally and help Kuroyuki, and to be honest with Chiyuri about everything he had done. Taku agreed. Soon after, Kuroyuki awoke from her coma and approached Haru. She thanked him for protecting her and praised Silver Crow's evolution, saying that Haru was destined to change the accelerated world. Then, before the gathered linkers, she revealed her true identity, Black Lotus, the legendary Black King. She asked Haru to carry her into the sky, where she declared war against the other kings, ending the false peace that had lingered for so long. The next morning, when Haru went to visit her, he hesitated before knocking. The door opened by itself, and Kuroyuki invited him in. She looked refreshed, her hair neatly braided. Haru reported what Taku had told him about the back door, though Taku didn't know who created it. Kuroyuki suspected it came from the Yellow Legion, known for their stealth operations. Before leaving, Haru returned Kuroyuki's student ID book. She accepted it shyly, worried that Haru had read its contents. He apologized, saying he had seen only a little. Then she asked him to call her by her real name instead of her title. Haru agreed, though he admitted he didn't yet know her real name. Smiling gently, Kuroyuki reintroduced herself once again.
At another time, Taku met his two seniors. He was beaten up for losing and for allegedly joining the Black King. Even after taking a harsh beating, Taku managed to stand back up. The Blue King appeared, and Taku immediately begged for forgiveness. He was granted a short reprieve. The Blue King then ordered two of his trusted members to throw Taku into a portal. With that, Taku thanked them. But did this mean he wasn't truly loyal to Kuroyuki? That day, Haru went to see Chiyuri, but she was still angry and avoided him. Afterward, Haru went to the hospital to visit Kuroyuki after school. When he arrived, Kuroyuki had just finished having her hair tied by one of her friends. The atmosphere between them was awkward.
Kurayuki brought up what Haru once said about the hairstyle of the girl he liked. This time, she had tied her hair simply, just the way Haru liked it. Of course, Haru got nervous. He wanted to compliment her, but didn't want to sound fake. Still, he couldn't deny that Kurayuki looked even sweeter in his eyes now. Haru told Kurayuki that he and Taku had gone to see Chiyuri. They explained about the Excel world, the backdoor Taku created to access Chiyuri's data, and what Taku truly felt about them. Naturally, Chiyuri was furious. She threw books at them while crying and even slapped them both. Since then, she had been angry at them. Kurayuki thought her reaction was understandable. She also felt responsible for what happened and wanted to see Chiyuri herself. But Haru and Taku didn't want her to get involved. They believed it was their problem to fix, especially since Taku wanted to make amends to Chiyuri personally. Haru also mentioned that he and Taku planned to keep training together until Haru reached level 4. Kurayuki couldn't help but feel a bit jealous of their close friendship. Despite all the betrayal, they still cared for each other deeply. Haru explained that it was because they had been friends since childhood. Later that day, Haru and Taku fought against another linker until time ran out. They managed to win the battle. Thanks to Taku's help, Haru finally reached level 2 after collecting 308 points. However, since the system required 300 points to level up, he only had 8 points left. Immediately after, Taku forcefully logged Haru out of the game. He apologized for pushing him out like that and admitted he was at fault for not explaining earlier that one couldn't simply trade 300 points directly. Now, Haru was left with only 8 points. If he joined another battle and lost, his points and his entire Brainburst account would be erased with just a single attack. Taku offered to fight him and pretend to lose so Haru could gain more points, but Haru refused. He felt that such an act would dishonor the spirit of battle and make it meaningless. He wanted to fight fairly. Haru remembered how Kurayuki had once used her physical brain to save him, even though it drained her points completely. He was certain that Kurayuki wouldn't have accepted his help if the situation were reversed. Haru knew that his strength, experience, and skill couldn't compare to Kurayuki's, but he wanted to be like her one day. Taku smiled at Haru's stubborn determination. He promised to find another way, but before leaving, he asked Haru to not connect to the global network for now. As Taku was about to go home, he noticed that Haru still kept their childhood sandals neatly placed on his shoe rack. He hadn't expected Haru to still have them. Sadly, the pair they had in Taku's house had already been thrown away by his parents when he was in 6th grade.
Suddenly, Taku received a message from Chiyuri. The two of them immediately went to her house, bringing along 2 boxes of her favorite ice cream. Inside, Taku also saw that she still kept the same pair of sandals from their childhood. Chiyuri said she wanted to fix their relationship, but she couldn't completely let go of her anger, no matter how many times the two boys apologized. She wanted to clear things up once and for all. Chiyuri asked if they were still playing the Brain Burst game, and whether they liked it because of Kuroyuki. Haru explained that their senior was indeed the one who introduced them to the game, but it wasn't because of her. Taku also admitted that his mistakes had nothing to do with the game itself. Chiyuri didn't understand why they were so obsessed with that game. Taku asked her to throw as many books as she could at them so she could see firsthand how the game worked. Chiyuri threw the books as fast and hard as she could, but Taku always managed to dodge them at the very last moment after saying, "Burst Linker." However, when she threw a book at Haru, he didn't have time to dodge and got hit, falling straight to the floor. Rather than trying to explain something she didn't understand, Chiyuri decided to make them finish all the ice cream as punishment. While looking at the ice cream menu, Taku noticed the word bouncer, which reminded him of something. He immediately suggested that Haru should ask a bouncer for help. A little later, when visiting Kuroyuki, Haru complimented her beauty as she tied her hair back, but she replied that she only tied it because it got in the way while eating. Kuroyuki mentioned that she would be discharged from the hospital on Wednesday. She asked Haru about his training. Had he reached level 2 yet? Haru answered that he hadn't, even though he actually already had. He didn't want to make her worry if she saw his current status. Kuroyuki then said that once she returned from the hospital, she planned to declare the empty area of Suginami as the territory of Nega Nebulas. However, she would have to wait until Haru officially reached level 2. Taku escorted Haru to a meeting area. He had already explained that a bouncer was the only kind of bodyguard in Brainburst.
Her avatar was known as Aqua Current. If a burst linker's points dropped too low, she would accompany them in tandem battles until their points reached a safe level again. She was incredibly strong, yet always remained at level 1. Even Taku didn't understand how she managed to do that. However, to use her service, Haru had to reveal his real identity. Haru agreed. When he arrived at the cafe where they were supposed to meet, no one was there. Only a bag containing a tablet that asked him to fill in his personal data. After submitting his name and photo, the tablet confirmed that their battle would start at 1:40 p.m. Haru looked around, wondering if he was being watched, but as he was about to go to the restroom, he suddenly tripped and fell right on top of a girl. Haru quickly apologized. When he tried to return the woman's bag, the tablet slipped out, and he realized she was Aqua Current. The same photo he had just taken had been sent to her. The girl tried to snatch the tablet back, but Haru managed to dodge her faster. She claimed the bag wasn't hers and tried to leave, but Haru didn't chase her, until she turned around and firmly asked for her tablet back. Finally, they sat together at the same table. Haru didn't know how to start the conversation, since he hadn't expected his bouncer to be a girl. He grew nervous, worried that she might get angry and refuse to help him. Suddenly, she suggested they do a cable connection. Haru wanted to refuse. After all, cable linking was supposed to be done only between people who are close. Doing it in public could easily cause misunderstandings. But the girl was assertive, her expression leaving no room for argument. In the end, Haru had no choice but to comply. Meanwhile, Taku arrived at Kuroyuki's room after receiving an invitation from her, but the moment he stepped in, Kuroyuki immediately activated Burst Link.
That day, Chiyuri went to the kendo training hall to look for Taku. She was shocked to hear that he had already quit the kendo club, and even the master didn't know why he left. In the accelerated world, Taku hesitated to fight Black Lotus, but Kuroyuki reminded him that he shouldn't reject a challenge once it's issued. That's the rule of the game. Meanwhile, in the real world, Karen thought Haru was acting strange. The player known as Silver Crow, who had a 70% win rate, suddenly lost a lot of points. She already had a good idea of who was behind that avatar. Haru was startled to realize how much the girl knew about him. They entered the game together for a tandem match. Karen promised to help Haru reach his target of 50 points in the Chiyoda area, and if that wasn't enough, they would move to Akihabara. She selected opponents around level 2 or 3, explaining that if they chose someone stronger, Haru wouldn't die instantly if they lost. She told him to stay calm and focus so they could win. The battlefield was a poisonous swamp. While Haru and Aqua Current prepared to fight, Kuroyuki and Taku also grew serious. At that moment, Kuroyuki realized that Taku wanted to throw away everything he'd gained to atone for his mistakes. She knew he planned to delete his brain burst program after helping Haru become a talented linker, but she told him that doing so would only hurt the people who cared about him, because it meant he was trampling on their feelings. Elsewhere, as the battle began, Haru was immediately hit by an enemy attack. The opponent mocked Haru and Aqua Current for daring to challenge higher-level players. Before fighting again, Aqua Current warned Haru that the girl could discharge electricity from her hands and told him to be careful. Haru managed to knock the enemy into the toxic swamp, but the girl warned him that he'd be the one to perish first because of his lower level. Haru confidently replied that it was impossible since silver was resistant to poison. Hearing that, the girl smirked and sent an electric current surging through his metallic body. Silver Crow screamed in pain as his whole body was electrocuted, but he quickly spread his wings and took flight. He used his divine attack to strike back, causing a massive explosion, yet his target survived, protected by her teammate. Meanwhile, Taku unleashed a series of attacks, but Kuroyuki dodged every single one. As he fought, he shouted, asking how he could ever make up for his sins. Kuroyuki struck him down and declared that deleting Brain Burst wouldn't fix anything. Doing so would only mean running away from the pain of imperfection. Taku yelled that she was wrong and charged again. At the same time, Sandman continued his fierce assault, taunting Haru and Aqua Current for lacking teamwork, the most crucial element in battle. Even with strong abilities, their coordination was poor. Haru refused to accept that. As long as the fight wasn't over, the result wasn't decided. For him, trust was the most important thing. The enemy team prepared a combined attack to finish them off. Aqua Current told Haru to stay focused and avoid being hit at the same time, then dashed to the other side. She explained that if they were struck together, it'd be over. When a storm of wind hit, Haru lunged forward to kick Sandman, but the smaller girl electrocuted him again with a powerful jolt. As Haru's health dropped dangerously low, Aqua Current stepped in, blocking the electricity with her body. Because her water was pure, it acted as the perfect insulator. Taking advantage of the moment, Haru soared high and launched a devastating kick from above, creating a massive explosion that wiped out their opponents. As Haru's battle ended in victory, Kuroyuki also defeated Taku. She told him that to atone, he had to join her legion and fight alongside them to learn how to truly enjoy the game the right way. After logging out, Haru thanked Karen, saying his points were safe now. He asked if she often played around that area, hoping they could meet again. Karen replied that they shouldn't see each other anymore. She chose that location precisely because few burst linkers were around. It made it easier for her to charge higher fees. Suddenly, Karen activated Brain Burst again and challenged Haru, saying she drained all his points. Haru refused to fight her. From the moment he met her, he believed she was a good person. He said that once he decided to trust someone, he'd keep trusting them, just like he did with Taku. Hearing this, Karen released him. She admitted that the fight had only been a small test and that she enjoyed fighting beside him, but as part of her protocol, she had to erase his memories of their meeting. Within seconds, the process was complete. Haru woke up at the cafe, confused. Across the table, only a data table and an empty teacup remained. At home, Taku found his kendo gear returned by Chiyuri. That made him realize something, and he immediately went to talk to his mother. The next morning, as Haru and Chiyuri walked to school, Taku greeted them. Seeing him in their school uniform left them speechless. After leaving the teacher's office, Kuroyuki met Taku. She didn't look surprised. She simply asked why he still wore glasses when the Neurolinker could project visual adjustments. Taku replied that from now on, he wanted to see his friends and himself with his own eyes. Kuroyuki smiled and said that suited him well. When he asked how she seemed to know him so well, Kuroyuki said she didn't. She only gave advice because she once made the same mistakes. After she walked away, Haru and Chiyuri arrived. The four of them stood together, smiling. Finally, they looked like true friends again.
That day, Haru was training to dodge extremely fast bullets. He wanted to become quicker, fast enough to be worthy of standing beside Kuroyuki. Now, they had started participating in Legion battles to seize territories. Despite the difference in their levels, these were team-based battles, fought with equal numbers on each side. Their main strategy relied on Haru's Silver Crow flight ability. He would soar into the sky and unleash a devastating attack from above. However, their opponents had begun to learn his attack pattern and successfully shot him down. Later, Haru told Taku about his training with the shooting game. He was disheartened because he couldn't dodge a single bullet. At first, Haru had felt proud, knowing he was the only avatar capable of flying, but that joy turned into frustration once he reached level 4 as his growth had stalled. Even the expansion of Nega Nebulas hadn't progressed. Taku immediately scolded him, emphasizing that using illegal programs wasn't the right path. He advised Haru to keep training and improve naturally. Haru insisted that Silver Crow was merely a fragile close combat fighter without his flight ability, so he had to master dodging bullets mid-air. Taku understood, but reminded him not to rush things. When Haru arrives home, he was shocked to find a mysterious girl suddenly appearing in his apartment. The girl was so cute that Haru thought she might be an angel, or perhaps a program from his Neurolinker. To test it, he pinched her cheek, but to his surprise, it felt completely real. Even after removing his Neurolinker, she remained there. The little girl introduced herself as his distant cousin. Soon after, Haru's mother sent a voice message explaining that the girl was indeed their cousin and would be staying with them while their parents were away on a business trip. She asked Haru to take good care of her. The girl baked a cake for Haru. She was sweet and polite, making Haru feel that life suddenly became brighter now that he had a little sister figure around. But something felt off.
Later, while in the bath, Haru couldn't shake the feeling that it was too strange to be real. He checked his family records and realized he didn't have any cousins with red hair. Just then, the girl entered the bathroom complaining that Haru was taking too long. In that moment, Haru noticed a faint mark on her neck, the trace of a neurolinker. That meant she was a burst linker. Her demeanor suddenly changed, from gentle and cute to cold and menacing. Haru immediately suspected that she had come to hack into Kuroyuki's legion through him. Since she couldn't possibly defeat Kuroyuki in a fair fight, she must have planned to use trickery. The girl, offended, rejected the accusation. She declared that she could defeat Kuroyuki because she was Scarlet Rain. As she was about to leave, she slipped, and Haru instinctively caught her, but in doing so accidentally touched her body. Furious, she called him a pervert and swore she would kill him.
Haru quickly called Kuroyuki to ask if she knew anything about someone named Scarlet Rain. Kuroyuki was shocked. She hadn't told Haru the names of the other kings yet. She explained that Scarlet Rain was the second-generation Red King. The first Red King, Red Rider, had been killed by Kuroyuki 2 years ago. Suddenly, Scarlet Rain activated Brain Burst and challenged Haru to a duel. When Haru saw her avatar, he doubted she was really the Red King. It looked small and cute. But then, she summoned a massive mechanical armor with terrifying long-range firepower. Though her avatar itself was tiny, the giant armor made her nearly invincible. Haru tried to attack with his Skyraker kick, but it failed, and he was soon chased by a barrage of homing missiles. The explosions destroyed the surrounding buildings, burying Scarlet Rain and her armor under rubble, but she emerged unscathed. Her armor's firepower was overwhelming. Seeing Haru fly excited her even more. She had long wanted to test her missiles against an airborne opponent. Haru pushed himself to his limit, dodging hundreds of missiles. At that moment, he realized he could see the missile trajectories and counterattack. But Scarlet Rain detached from her armor, trapping Haru under the wreckage. Silver Crow was defeated. As the victor, Scarlet Rain made only one request. She wanted to meet Black Lotus in person to discuss something important. The next day at school, Haru told Kuroyuki everything. She asked him to consider it a valuable experience. After all, few low-level players ever had the chance to fight a king. When she asked what the second Red King was like, Haru simply said, "She's insane. That tiny girl destroyed 2 entire buildings in one match." Kuroyuki explained that Scarlet Rain had invested all her points into maximizing her armor's firepower. Her nickname was the Immovable Fortress, since she couldn't move freely during battle because of her enormous armor. As Haru spoke, Kuroyuki's expression grew somber. Haru remembered. She was the one who had decapitated the first Red King. He realized that Red Rider must have been someone important to her, and apologized for bringing it up. But Kuroyuki coldly stated that all kings were now her enemies. At that moment, Haru gently held her hand and promised, "I'll never fight against you or become your enemy." To him, Kuroyuki was family. Even if the game forced friends or loved ones to face each other, Haru swore that he would never betray her.
They discussed the matter and also asked for Taku's opinion. Taku suspected that Scarlet Rain wanted to recruit Haru into her legion and control him through threats. If Haru refused, Scarlet could use Judgment Blow, an execution technique possessed only by legion leaders, capable of permanently erasing all points and burst link data of a member. Fortunately, before Scarlet could do that, Haru managed to discover her true identity. However, in exchange, Scarlet demanded a direct meeting with Kuroyuki to negotiate a deal. Kuroyuki agreed, but with one condition. The meeting would take place at Haru's house. When Haru brought Kuroyuki home, they found Scarlet Rain, whose real name was Unico, often called Nico, already comfortably playing one of Haru's old video games. Upon seeing them, Nico immediately greeted them with her usual smug attitude, teasing that Kuroyuki was so black she probably couldn't be seen at night. Kuroyuki didn't stay silent and fired back with sharp sarcasm. The two queens quickly got into a heated argument, forcing Haru to step in and calm them down. When Taku arrived, the mood began to settle. They formally introduced themselves, and Nico was asked how she managed to identify Haru as Kuruyuki's subordinate. Nico explained that she could access every middle school in the Suganami area by connecting through their local networks. Then she waited at a family restaurant near their school gate, accelerating every time a student left the building. When she finally saw the name Silver Crow appear as Haru exited, she was shocked. Haru was equally stunned to learn that Nico had spent around 200 burst points just to locate him. Then Nico revealed her true purpose. She wanted to meet Black Lotus and borrow Silver Crow's flight ability to destroy the Armor of Catastrophe, also known as the Disaster Armor. However, Kuruyuki immediately objected, insisting that it was impossible since the armor had already been destroyed 2 years ago. She had witnessed it herself. Nico is shocked and angrily claimed the armor had reappeared. Haru, who didn't understand what they were talking about, asked what the Armor of Catastrophe actually was. To explain everything, Kuruyuki decided to show them her memories in visual reality. She displayed the legendary battle between the Seven Kings and Chrome Disaster, the brutal burstlinker who once parsed the entire Axel world before his death. But even after his demise, his armor survived, possessing 3 different users over time and turning each of them into ruthless killers. In her memory, Kuruyuki showed how she herself had once fought against a host of the armor. They saw that the monstrous figure had been gravely wounded, yet still moved ferociously until it was finally defeated. All the kings had confirmed afterward that the armor was gone from every storage zone. The curse should have ended. Even so, Nico remained convinced that the 5th generation Chrome Disaster had emerged. This time the armor had possessed her own friend from the Red region, a burst linker named Cherry, who had gone on a rampage, slaughtering players from other regions and breaking the Interlegion peace treaty. Nico had tried to stop her using Judgment Blow, but failed, because the technique had almost 0 range. Moreover, the possessed avatar could jump extraordinarily high, almost as if it could fly. That was why Nico needed Silver Crow. His flight ability could give them the advantage. But Haru was terrified, insisting that there was no way he could fight something that powerful. Kuruyuki believed this could be a valuable experience for Haru, though Taku was hesitant, suspecting it might be a trap. After all, their ultimate goal was to reach level 10, meaning all other kings were technically their enemies. Nico argued that she would never betray them, since she had already met them in real life, and any betrayal could be dealt with in reality. Kuruyuki considered it risky, but acknowledged that Nico must have prepared a reward. Nico promised that her legion would leave the Suganami area alone. Unexpectedly, Kuruyuki agreed, and they arranged to meet again at Haru's house the following night to begin the operation. Later that evening, Kuruyuki prepared to go home, but when she heard that Nico was staying over at Haru's house, she suddenly changed her mind and decided to stay too. They went shopping together to cook dinner. Haru suggested instant noodles, but Nico refused. When they saw a small child asking his parents for a hamburger, Nico immediately suggested they make hamburgers instead. After dinner, Kuruyuki and Nico took a bath together to save time, leaving Haru nervously overthinking the situation. 2 beautiful girls bathing in his house. When they finished, the 3 of them played games until they grew tired and fell asleep on the living room sofa. That night, Haru woke up in the middle of the night and saw Kuruyuki and Nico sleeping while hugging each other peacefully. For a brief moment, they looked so close, almost like friends. Then Haru remembered what Taku had said earlier. Their ultimate goal was to reach level 10. That meant sooner or later, all the kings would have to fight each other.
The next day, Haru looked genuinely happy spending time with 2 beautiful girls. They went to school together, and at one point, Kuruyuki even straightened Haru's crooked tie. Their closeness made Chiyuri suspicious, but Taku managed to calm her down and gave a logical explanation for why Kuruyuki was staying with Haru. Eventually, Chiyuri expressed her desire to join Axel World. She wanted Haru to install Brain Burst for her, but Haru couldn't do it since the program could only be installed once. Kuruyuki then suggested that Taku become Chiyuri's parent, the term used for the one who grants Brain Burst. Taku agreed. Later, inside the game room, Haru called out to Kuruyuki. He wanted to know who had given her the Brainburst program. But Kuruyuki refused to tell him that person's identity. Her possessiveness and jealousy were too strong. That person had once been someone precious to her, but now she was her greatest enemy. She admitted she once wanted to destroy him completely, but that was impossible now. Kuruyuki explained that the relationship between parent and child in Accel World is the strongest bond, yet it can also become a curse. In this world, parent and child can challenge each other to battle at any time, especially since they know each other in the real world. However, Haru firmly declared that he would never fight Kuruyuki no matter what. He swore it with all his heart. When they returned home, Haru asked Nico if she hated Kuruyuki. After all, it was Kuruyuki who had killed the previous Red King. Nico shook her head. In fact, she said that was why she was able to ascend to the throne. Besides, she was never close to the former Red King. She even admired Kuruyuki for her principles and her clear goal of reaching level 10, while other kings only pretended to maintain peace. Haru then asked if Nico also wanted to reach level 10. Nico said she didn't know, because some kings believed that if anyone reached level 10, Brainburst itself would end. When that happened, the program would be uninstalled from all burst linkers. Nico didn't want to think about it, because she had already become addicted to the game, yet she admitted that this addiction was slowly destroying Accel World, just like what happened to Chrome Disaster. Her friend Cherry had reached out for the disaster armor because she wanted to gain more power and level up. Nico blamed herself for what happened to Cherry, but Haru told her it wasn't her fault. It was natural for her to want to stay in a world she loved, hoping the game would never end. Still, he'd learned something after playing so many games. There's nothing sadder than a game that ends without a proper ending. As time passes, more and more players disappear, moving on to new games. The beloved NPCs and friends they left behind fade away, smiling as they vanish,